President Trump will speak before Congress and the nation tonight as he weighs his options on Iran. Multiple sources have told CBS News the president is growing increasingly frustrated with limits on using force against Iran. CBS News reported that Trump was told any action against Iran wouldn't be a singular decisive blow and could lead to greater conflict. But the president denied those reports on social media, saying Joint Chief Chairman Dan Kane would not like to see war, but it's his opinion, I should say, that it will be easily won. Joining us now is General H.R. McMaster, CBS News national security contributor and former national security advisor to President Trump. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and, of course, your expertise. So it seems like the president's advisors are trying to make sure he's measured about what he says, about what's to come with Iran or what could happen with Iran. But what is your take on that?
Mugo, I think what you're seeing is some of the divisions maybe within the administration. This was leaked, it seems like, by somebody who is reticent or doubtful about the wisdom of striking Iran. But I think what's clear about this is that Dan Kane, the chairman, and the CENTCOM commander, they're giving the president best advice. And it's their job to think about what happens next. This is why I think, first of all, it's likely that the U.S. will strike. And it's likely that it will be a very significant strike, because what you want to do is take out with the means of retaliation that the Iranians have. This would be missile sites, missile capabilities, maybe the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps Navy, for example, that's been harassing our ships, their drone capabilities. And then I imagine, because what we're seeing is massive protests again in Iran across about 20 universities, 14 of them in Tehran. You're seeing the besieged brutally put them down again, using ambulances to deliver these besieged thugs into the middle of college campuses. So I think President Trump will move toward a strike for these reasons, with the objective, I think, of weakening the regime, taking out, again, its ability to hold its neighbors, its Arab neighbors and Israel hostage to this missile capability, and then also to make good. Remember on this pledge that he said that he has the protesters' backs, as they take on this theocratic dictatorship.
So you said there that it's likely that the U.S. will strike Iran. So do you think there's any pressure right now inside Iran for them to make a deal with the United States?
There is, but the problem is the ideology of this leadership. So Ayatollah Khamenei, who's 86 years old, he is permanently hostile, to the great Satan, the United States, Israel, and its Arab neighbors. And actually the regime has defined itself largely based on that hostility. And so they can't help themselves, Mugo, as part of the problem because of that ideology. And then also, their so-called red lines, they want to continue enrichment. There's no way in heck President Trump's going to sign up for that, because, of course, that was one of his major criticisms of the Iran nuclear deal in 2015. And Iran showed that was a big mistake to allow them to enrich, because they enriched to 60%. They were on their way to weapons-grade enrichment when we conducted the strikes against the deep-buried nuclear sites. And then also, the missiles are saying, hey, the missiles are off the table. Their support for terrorists are off the table. Really? I mean, after they lit the fire, the ring of fire around Israel on October 7th, 2023. So, Mugo, they just don't get it, And so this guy, Arachi, the foreign minister, he's the shop window, for the supreme leader and the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. And of course, what's sad about this is, is the people who are suffering the most here are the Iranian people at the hands of this regime. I mean, they murdered over 30,000 people in a 48-hour period. So there's a heck of a lot more that I think we could do, from the military perspective, but really outside the military perspective, diplomatically, financially, and the administration is doing this, really putting the economic constraints back onto the Iranian regime after the Biden administration made, I think, the poor choice of relaxing sanctions enforcement and allowing this kind of regime to get up off the mat after the maximum pressure campaign of the Trump 1 administration.
I also want to ask you about this because we've reported about those warships that are now near Iran. It's been days now, and my question is, it's got to cost a lot of money, right? Just can the U.S. afford to have those warships out there for a longer period of time?
Yeah, it's a massive force with with our warships as well as with our air wings and the the land forces that are deployed there for air defenses. That's one of our most deployed units in all the services are Patriot batteries. For example, the air defense capabilities. So it puts a strain on the force, but that's what you sign up for, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
don't join the military because you think it's going to be easy. So our amazing servicemen and women are doing what our leadership tells them to do, and I'm sure morale's very high here. This is Iran has a lot of blood on their hands and a lot of American blood on their hands. They've been fighting a proxy war against us for 47 years. I mean, remember the Beirut bombings in 1983, Khobar
Mm.
Towers bombings in the 90s, and then they used these militias in Iraq to contribute to killing over 600 U.S. soldiers during the Iraq War. So, Iran's always been able to get away with it, and when they really overstepped was October of 2023, when they lit that ring of fire against Israel, and then they attacked Israel directly, and now they're kind of reaping the whirlwind of those huge mistakes and this 47-year-long proxy war against
Yeah.
again the great Satan, you know. Israel, their Arab neighbors, and the West broadly.
And I want to switch gears here and ask you about a different topic, because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he is meeting with the CEO of Anthropic as the Pentagon uses Anthropic's AI model Claude. But Anthropic does not want their AI used for that lethal autonomous weapons or even mass surveillance. So can you talk to us about how the Pentagon is using AI and how this meeting might go if neither side gives any concessions?
Well, I think Secretary Hegseth is right that no U.S. company should hold back capabilities from the U.S. military. I mean, hey, we are a democracy. Our government is accountable to the American people through their representatives in Congress and through the ballot box. We have judicial review, as we've seen the Supreme Court rule against what they viewed as an overextension of executive authority. But what you don't want to do is not give, your military the capabilities it needs to fight and win. I don't understand that logic unless they're saying, hey, we just need more time to make these tools safer. But the other juxtaposed story in the last 24 hours is how China has stolen so much of Anthropic's data.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're trying to control a technology that's competitive in nature, you need all parties to the competition to sign up for those rules. Do you think China's going to sign up for them? Heck no. And if they do, they're just going to lie to you about it. So I think it's really important for us to maintain our competitive advantage. Remember the Project Maven kind of kerfuffle with Google about 10 years ago? When the employees walked out and said, hey, we're not going to help the military with artificial intelligence. Well, I think this has been a big shift toward more cooperation between the tech sector. And I think we have a lot of people to thank for that, but especially maybe Vladimir Putin, because it was that massive and brutal reinvasion of Ukraine. We're at the 4th anniversary today. That Americans realized, hey, gosh, we are in the right side of this. We are the good guys. We should give our military the capabilities we need.
Yeah, great conversation. General H.R. McMaster, thank you so much for your insight today. We really, really appreciate your time.
Great to be with you, Mugo. Thank you.